When did you get interested in AI?
So I think interest in AI happened very naturally when ChatGPT was launched and when the whole world went crazy. That's really how I also got interested. But to give you a little bit of a backstory, so in short, I'm a tech educator, or in simple words, I'm a teacher. I started teaching technology during COVID, and of course we'll dive deeper into that aspect, but I was basically teaching my students Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, WhatsApp, Gmail, etc. And as they got smarter, they came and told me chat gpt has launched, and I said, yeah, I heard about it. I think it's a chat bot, you have to talk to it. He said, no, 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 you go figure out what it is and you come and teach us. I said, what is there to teach in that? It's just a chatbot. You have to talk to it, really. No, no, I'm pretty sure, Shreya, there's more around it. Every day in the news, things like this is happening. So we don't have any problem. If it takes you 2 weeks, 3 weeks, you figure it out, make a course and come and teach us. So that's really how I got into AI, very honestly, is when my students forced me. And these students that I'm talking about, I remember very specifically, is an 80-year-old woman in Bombay who sent me a
Wow.
newspaper clipping of ChatGPT and said, "Go figure this stuff out and then come and teach us." So that's really how my interest in AI came in. Not, I think it came in first from my students, and then I think naturally as, no, you know what, I really have to figure this stuff out.
It's amazing how people who are technologically non savvy found you as the perfect foil to be able to teach them. And they somehow believed completely that you would understand and make them understand as well. Do you think you have a natural affinity for getting through to people, or is it something that you discovered over time?
I think I was always a people person, but never a teacher. Definitely not an online educator. Like Zoom as
Okay.
a medium to teach is hard, right? Because to keep people engaged online is very different from keeping people engaged in
Mm.
person. So I was a very
Right.
social person, people person. I definitely could interact with a 2-year-old and an 8-year-old very easily. Also, I think that comes because I'm partly very fascinated by people's stories. So I would be very curious, like, how did you get to where you are? What do you do to keep yourself engaged? I would ask a 10-year-old or a 90-year-old this, because for me, like, these are just fascinating. It doesn't matter, right, where you are in your graph of your life, but you'll do something interesting. And so for me, I was always curious about that. But did I ever imagine that that would convert into a profession? Definitely not. So I think it just came in, like I said, accidentally in COVID. I said, I'm not a doctor. So how do I help people? And the situation at the time was, if you have to book your vaccines, you have to do it online. If you want to leave Bangalore and go to, say, Chennai, you need to go online to get a pass. We're talking about social distancing, which means don't pay cash to your milkman, because even cash could be a carrier of the virus. So, which means that we were forced to be in a digital transformation overnight. However,
Right.
our societies are not built like that, where we enabled an entire section of society to be digitally inclusive. So both these things happen at the same time. Yet I think it was my timing of COVID that got people who are non technologically savvy to suddenly realize, listen, this is a need, because maybe I'm not living with my kids. My kids are in America or in another house. And some of the founders, business men that I worked with, they had EAs up until now who would print out stuff and kind of present to them. And suddenly they're like, oh, I have to log in and check the Excel sheet, which up until now was brought to me on my table. So I think it was the timing, to be honest, that encouraged people to be like, no, listen, I really need to do this. Because up until COVID, even though you were technologically not savvy, you had an entire army of people to help you, which
Right.
I think that mindset shift was very important. And then, of course, I sort of got into it in the sense that I want to help people. So, can I teach it to them? Was the question. And if I teach it them, would they actually understand and would it actually impact them? So, those were all the experiments I ran, which I'm happy to talk about as we go along. Yeah.
Great. Reverse mentoring has been in the news. People in senior positions relying on young people within their departments to help them understand technology. But adopting it as a career, what exactly is the potential and how does someone even get into it? Shreya has done something amazing. She has already trained 25,000 professionals plus professionals across India, Dubai, Singapore, and the US. She trains business teams to actually use AI, not learn about it. So it's not a course which tells people, oh, this is what AI is about. Her background is that she's passed her chartered accountancy and done her MBA from ISB. Her background is in business and not tech. And she says that's why it works. So her workshops are hands on. She uses actual decks, reports, and workflows, not examples that are simply culled from some, you know, course or something like that. And then she has what is called the Monday test. That is, whatever you learn, you should be able to implement. So it's with great pleasure and pride that I've got Shreya on this thing. We've talked for a little while to try and get her on the show, but she's been really busy, which tells you that she's into a very hot area. So, Shreya, great to have you on the show.
It's
And
complete pleasure. And like I told you, I think what you're doing is so interesting and cool. I mean, I'm so excited to see this entire career library show up because I think what you're doing is so fascinating, not just for a 20-year-old, but even for a 70-year-old who wants to restart. That there's ample opportunities. So, very excited to be here. Thank you.
great. So, give me a sense of what your earlier you spoke about doing it through WhatsApp and various other things. Obviously, you were also trying to figure out what is the format that works for you.
Yeah.
So finally, why did you or how did you get into offline and how did the first kind of workshops begin?
So when I was doing just the tech coaching, which I mean day-to-day productivity, right? Like so when we say day-to-day productive, we're talking about the G Suite, we're talking about Instagram, social media applications. But I pivoted towards all of this for work. So if you're a homemaker, why would you want to use Instagram to grow? If you are a business owner, why would you want to maximize how to control your storage space so that you could send out emails faster without having an assistant to support you? And if you're just a homemaker or a senior citizen, you should at least know how to use your phone so that your settings is taken care of. You understand when your storage is full, etc. So I always used to
Right.
joke saying, when you're buying a washing machine or a microwave oven, you're handed over a 40-page manual. But when you're handed over an important device like a phone and you're spending a lakh and a half, 2 lakhs, why is there no manual? And why are we not demanding a manual as consumers? And why are we expected to know it the minute a phone touches our hands? So this is really how the tech journey began. And all of this was online because, like I said, it was during COVID, and which meant that's also one of the reasons why I was able to touch massive numbers during COVID is because literally every organization said, come and do a session for us, either fake news, especially at that time, I used to do a lot of sessions on fake news because COVID, I mean, WhatsApp University was teaching everybody on drinking, cow urine to get yourself cured from COVID to whatnot. So I think it even started from basic awareness, how to fact check what comes out on WhatsApp, and then eventually maximizing your WhatsApp usage, etc. The in-person workshops began when I started working with certain organizations like Fiki Flow, entrepreneurs organization YPO, where they said, listen, all these topics are very nice, but not engaging enough for us to call you as a speaker for an in-person event. So give us something more. And I was honestly thinking, so I used to do a lot of social media workshops at the time. Those were my in-person workshops. But really, I think AI came at the right intersection because suddenly it became the hot topic. And but the tricky part for me as an educator was there weren't enough manuals because the entire world was experiencing AI as a trial and error. So I really had no book to go to or a course that is already on Udemy or YouTube or anything for that matter. So it was really more hands on and then just watching people around me use AI and be like, that was an interesting case. How can I do it better? And then I'd come back and sort of prepare. So that's how my in person workshop started. I started teaching organizations like EO, YPO, their forums. Then they really liked it. And they said, this is such a need of the hour. Why don't you teach it to my C suite? Why don't you teach it to my founding teams? Why don't you teach it to my marketing guys? So every organization has their own requirement. So that's the fun of it, that then I custom make it for the organization and their teams.
So all of these, you had a basic format in place as to how to start using it, and then you sort of built it over time? Or is it something that you looked at what is it that the organization requires and then adapted it for their needs?
So again, I think it came from personal experience because at the time I was nominated by Stanford Seed Spark as one of the startups out of 130 startups in a cohort.
Okay.
So I had to build my own business, and ChatGPT had sort of just come out, but we were all using it just as a search query. In fact, surprisingly, 80% of people even till today use it as a
Use
replacement
it
to
for
Google.
search. Yeah.
And I had to do like assignments, right? So maybe week one was figuring out your mission statement and your value statement. Week two was probably building your customer persona. So it was hardcore building a business blueprint. And because I had this really smart, intelligent friend, ChatGPT, and I had nothing to lose, I used to do a lot of experiments. And the results really stunned me, especially I actually had an in-person mentor, and I used to run back with him, and he was impressed with the quality of answers and the speed at which I was able to deliver. And I think for me, that was that aha moment that, hey, AI is a very powerful tool, but we have to be the driver of this tool. And so I would spend my first draft came out very easily with ChatGPT, and then I'd spend more time in refining it and bettering it. But now suddenly I went from a solopreneur to having a co-founder whom I could brainstorm with. And I got so excited about that. And eventually I won the top 5 pitch as well at Stanford Seed Spark. And
Wow.
I don't think I could have done it without AI because I really didn't have any other co-founder with me. And everyone who had shared the story with, they were very fascinated. They're like, but how are you using it differently that I'm not? And at that time, even I didn't have an answer. So second stage was a lot of experiments. I would show 3 things to people what I thought was cool, and I would just watch and observe their reactions. If their eyes lit up, if
Give
there
me an
was a wow.
example, Shreya. Give me an example of something that you would show.
Okay, so when I first run a workshop, and in today's day, if I run an AI workshop, one of the first things I tell, because most people have already been playing with ChatGPT, which again goes to show that in the history of all of technology, using AI is the easiest because it's literally something you have to talk with. So when
Right.
I go and ask people like how many of you have been using ChatGPT, I would say 80 to 85% of the room always raise their hand. And by now I'm talking about I have done more than 35 in-person workshops in the last 6-8 months. So I've fairly met a lot of people who've played around with AI. And the most of them raise their hands. And then I just give them a small example. I said, just put this in your AI right now. You and I have been chatting for the last 2 years, ChatGPT. Based on all my conversations with you, can you paint a picture of me? What is it that you know about me? And all those who've been interacting with AI, suddenly their eyes are lit up and they're so happy because AI says something like, you're a systems thinker, you're an operational wizard. The way you approach it is amazing. And then they go on to talk about a little bit about their personal life, professional life. And I watch because one is they're very happy because AI knows them so well. And then they're like, oh, it just got me. I really understood AI. Then I asked them two questions. Did you ever think, where is this information coming from? Because if you were using Google parallelly and you've been searching for the last 30 years, Google is not able to give you something like this. Second, did you also realize that you're only smiling all the way through because AI is designed to please? And then there's like an aha moment, and they're like, oh, yeah, you're right. I didn't see anything negative about me. I said, yeah, because your first reaction with AI is always going to be something that will lead you on. It's reflective. If you say, paint a lovely picture of me, it's going to give you lovely words. Then they're like, okay, what can I do? And then we reverse it. Now we say three things about me and be brutally honest, ChatGPT, of why I'm thinking incorrectly about this problem. And suddenly AI backfires and gives you another thing. Then they're like, oh my God, so it's how I direct it. That's an aha moment for a lot of people. And B is when we go into the settings and we go into the memory function, and then I show them where all this memory is actually saved and where it's getting picked up from. And then they realize even something like even the model data training is turned on for a lot of people, and it has to be turned off because otherwise all your conversations with OpenAI is being read, because 90% of Indian users are on the free versions of these AI tools.
Right.
And especially with ChatGPT Go becoming free, Perplexity becoming free, that's what they want. They think India is the consumer, but we're just the lab. And so these kind of things that we start talking about in the workshop, they're like, oh, that makes a lot of sense now. Now I understand why I'm doing what I'm doing. I understood where this feature is coming from or why AI is behaving the way it is behaving.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then uh, your workshops, in person workshops, typically go on for a whole day, or how have you structured it?
Yeah, my in-person workshop. So again, I played around with a lot of formats. So first, people used to say, "Come and do a 60-minute workshop." So I did that. Like I said, I don't have a blueprint. I never had a model of a company to follow, even when I was doing the online, just day-to-day tech or AI. So I would do it. I'd do a 60-minute workshop. But what I kind of mastered over time is to read rooms and read people, and be very detached to the outcome, in the sense, just because it's my material and I've prepared it, I'm not attached that that should have an aha moment on people. So I do my job, I deliver, and then I step back and I watch, where did people laugh, where were they getting bored, where did their attention drift, and I just make a sort of mental note of this, and I'd be like, in the next workshop, these are the things I want to change, and in the next workshop, these are the things I want to change. That helped me a lot, is to understand that it's not about what you know, it's also about how you deliver. And when you are coming, especially in an in-person workshop, there's a lot more than just knowing subject matter. You have to be part therapist. Sometimes you have to motivate people. Sometimes you have to crack a really bad joke when people's attention is drifting away. Sometimes I even say something like, please don't eat biryani in lunch because you're going to doze off. Sometimes I've made people do Zumba so that their attention comes up, because as humans, our focus has declined. And even
Yeah.
though I could be the most engaging speaker, it always happens. So I would start with 60-minute and then realize that it's not satisfying people's answers because they need a little bit more time to explain it. Then I'd ask for 2 hours. And then people would always come back and say, 2 hours is too long. People's attention span's only 45 minutes. Give us something in 45 minutes.
Right.
And I just needed that one person who would give me 4 hours. And so I stuck to my ground and I said, no, 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 no to 10, 60 minutes. And I said, give me 4 hours. And if it's not worth your time, or if people doze off, I will walk away or you don't pay me. I even have gone to the extent, because over time I got very confident with my delivery. And
Okay.
then that's moved to, currently my AI workshops are 8 hours long. I do a
Wow.
10 to 6 with ample breaks, with hands on simulation. But I say, if you don't give me that time, I cannot give you the flavor of AI. And I can't go to sleep knowing that you called me all the way and I did such a bad job. So now it's 8 hours. And after 8 hours, people are like, damn, that was short. This should have been a 2-day workshop. So this is what's happening.
No, which is amazing in today's world where, getting attention is the ultimate equity. Being able to hold a group of people for 8 hours itself calls for a great deal of skill. It's not just skill, it's also about structuring it in a way that ensures that, it's a combination of exercise and discovery and people finding that something is really working for them. But give me a couple of incidents during workshops that kind of, change the way you thought about how people respond and react to AI.
Um, I'll answer this question a little differently. Instead of responding to AI, I'm going to first talk about how feedback from the room made me change my delivery of the course itself. Because
Okay.
that also happens. I've gone ahead with one plan in mind. This is what I want to do. At 10 to 11, I want to do basics of AI. Then I want to do this. I have a whole agenda in mind. I was in Raipur for a petroleum trading company. This is 3 months ago, I'm talking about. And the husband and wife, they're the founders of the company. They've attended my workshop previously with young Indians. And they really liked it. And they said, it blew my mind. No one has been able to keep me this engaged. And I want you to come and teach it to my team. So they already knew me, yet they were very involved. They knew their people. So they told me, Shreya, could you do the workshop in Hindi? I said, done. But my Hindi is conversational because I'm brought up in the South. Is that okay? They said, ha, chalega, don't you worry. Done. So I started teaching in Hindi. But what happened is there was such a disconnect because I'm talking about AI. The folks here all have like pan in their mouth. That's just the culture of the city. So it's very different, and then they're on WhatsApp, they're more on their phone, not even on their laptops. People are coming in and out of the workshop. And all the reactions that I wanted, right? Like, oh, this is an aha moment. Like I told you. What I've also discovered is humans are same, more or less. But that day I was failing. And I could also sense it in the sense they were with me, but not with me in a aha moment. And I'm a person who feeds off the energy of the room. So for me, if you're sleeping, I'll just lose off my thoughts. So to
Right.
keep myself sane, I said, okay, something's up. So the wife came to me and said, Shreya, there's nothing wrong with what you're teaching, but I feel like our people have never even logged into ChatGPT. So they're not even getting a basic flavor of the tool. Can we change it? Can we do something else? And normally my simulation happens at about 4:35 towards the end of the session, and they ended with a bang. And I looked at her and I said, you do have a point, but I've never done this before, and I don't even know how I'm going to run it. She said, why don't you take 5 minutes and think about it? I told her, no. First, my first reaction, is to defend your ground, right? You're like, no, I'll handle it. Just give me some more time. They'll come up. Trust me. By the end of the day, it'll be good. But I said, this lady knows her people more than I do. And she is doing it very respectfully, very gracefully, and she has a very valid point. And I came to her and I told her, we had a lunch break. I said, you know what? I agree with you. Let's flip it over. You'll have to probably support me because I've never done something like this before. But let's change it and let's do the simulation right now. I need to teach 2, 3 things to get through the simulation. So just bear with me for 10 minutes. I keep it very short and we'll go in detail once they've experienced it. And the whole thing, you won't believe, Venusa turned around. They got a flavor of ChatGPT and suddenly they were wide awake. Their questions from walking out of the room were suddenly this level. And to me, it was a great learning that you have to read the room. You can't just be like, this is my plan, this is how I'm going to do it. And it had nothing to do with their intellectual ability or their wisdom or them lack of knowing either. It was just I had to get them interested in the subject hands on. And normally the people I probably dealt with were that 85% who've worked with ChatGPT before, and this room had only about 5 or 10% that had worked with ChatGPT before.
Okay. Terrific. So let me just sum up and then come back to you, Shreya. I'm speaking to Shreya Bajaj Shah, and she does this wonderful. I'm calling it reverse mentoring because that's really, she calls it training, but I think that she invariably works with people who are much older. And she's found this wonderful way of introducing them to AI, which is not based on a pure tech explanation of how the technology works, but how to actually implement it. She spoke about how she started off during the COVID days and then step by step by doing courses in social media and then moving on to ChatGPT, which came as literally as a bolt from the blue. And she thought initially that it was just another chatbot, but then she realized the potential and how much more it could do because of the kind of experiments that she continued to do with it and build her own startup journey with ChatGPT. So that itself was a major understanding of how to apply the learnings of what ChatGPT can do and what AI can do and what tech can do. Shreya is very, very balanced in terms of what she thinks the tech can deliver and what she can deliver. And I think it helps remarkably that she's able to establish this connect to people who are much older than her or much younger than her. That itself is a quality which I think not too many people have. In the next stage, I'll be talking to her about how she sees this entire field evolve and what are the things that she thinks people need to know, especially if they're going to look at this as a career or even as what is it that how do you deal with people who are much older than you are, who don't have the same level of technical expertise and but need to know. So Shreya, what's your take on how you think this whole thing is going?
Are we specifically talking about the AI space or just working with adults and seniors
I'm
who
I'm
don't?
saying it's a combination of both because AI is also tied into it's become an integral part of whatever you do because
Yeah.
it's kind of involved with anything that is. So today you will talk of tech, maybe you'll do social media and some parts of it, but then AI does come in
Yeah.
because I think at some level it does form a foundation. Yeah,
AI for me is inevitable. I think we see it time and again, and I think the sheer demand of, I mean, I'm booked out for the next 3 months, right? And I'm not the only generative AI trainer in the country. There are many more like me. So I think the market is giving us a signal that this is something we all need. I think about why we need, and I think it solves a lot of problems of, say, inefficiency, especially language barrier, right? Like when I was training a D2C company in Kanpur, and we specifically were training people who are distributors, and they only use their mobiles. They don't even have laptops or tablets. And I said, that's totally okay because you have AI, you have an application, all you have to do is talk to it. And because it's a large language model and when we understand the fundamentals, which means you can talk to it in any language that you prefer and you're comfortable with. And you can just say, can you please help me translate this into a project brief so that I can send it to my head of department? At
right.
least you're not left behind in the race simply because you don't need a language. And the number of people who are so happy, they're like, kabhi kabhi we have to write a distributor agreement, or we have to come up with some negotiation terms, or we have to send a report back to head office. But because, ma'am, we don't understand the language, it always stops us from growing because we're not able to communicate. So I think AI is going to help us solve problems like that at very fundamental levels. Personally, I'm also doing a lot of experiments on my own account. I'll just give you another example. So, I have an Instagram account, and for the last 2.5 years, I was stuck at 23,000 odd followers. Last 2 months, I said people are creating AI content at scale using AI avatars. So there's a tool called HeyGen where you can sort of build clone yourself. I was very apprehensive about it because obviously you can tell that it's a clone, etc., etc. So I never tried it for about a year and a half, even though I'm in the AI education space, because that's how we are also as humans, right? We're very hesitant.
Right.
But I saw some case studies of people actually growing their accounts, even though they're using AI avatars, because it's offsetting certain other problems. For example, I'm not available all the time to shoot. So if
Right.
I have to do a topical content, because that's the kind of content that goes viral on Instagram or LinkedIn or YouTube, then the ability to have a script, have a clone, provided an editor can do a fantastic job. So I think understanding where AI can come in and where AI can't come in is helpful. But just I ran these experiments and I have grown to 8,000. I've grown by 8,000 followers. So I'm at 33, 34,000 right now in a span of
Wow.
40 years. What was
Okay.
stagnant for me for 2 years. And yeah, some people are like, that is AI, but do they care? Provided you're getting value, the editing is amazing, the overall value or the entertainment that you're getting out of a video, are we hitting those things that make a video go viral? And if we are, then people don't care if it's AI or non AI. In fact, I ran these AI avatars because I was also so curious myself, and I showed two videos to my own family. And I said, one video is real me, one video is an AI avatar. And what was really shocking to me was my family got it the other way around. The
Oh,
video
good.
where I was actually talking, they said, that looks like that's an AIU because it's too perfect. And here you're fumbling a bit and your hands are moving funnily. So that probably is you. So to me, that was also very experimentative, that if you're not looking very closely, it's probably hard to tell. So that's another example of how AI is helping me. It's helping me grow because I'm also a mom to young toddlers and I'm trying to grow my own business and I want to be relevant on social media, and I can't do it all. And no founder
Right.
can. And if technology can help you sort of be omnipresent, then I'm all for it. So,
Okay.
small examples of how AI is reshaping the way we think. But as I talk to more people, for example, I work a lot with real estate developers. And, we get these RERA notifications, and they're always like photocopies. They're not even like PDFs, there's photocopies of scanned documents. And AI can extract text from that very easily. It can understand long form content very easily. It can summarize legal documents in plain English words. And so today, a founder can actually get a notification and I mean, like SEBI notifications, RERA notifications, they come out like 10 in a day at a bare minimum. And
Wow.
normally it would take 24 hours or 48 hours for the legal team to kind of come back. And now the founder can just upload all of it on AI, get a summary, send it to their respective teams, marketing team, legal team. I need you to work on all of these things. So better control, faster decisions, and I think inefficiencies in the system is going to get drained out eventually. So there's going to be a lot of space for both extremes, but there's going to be very little room for averages. So I think it's disruptive in that sense, that either you don't step up, then you're likely the ones who's going to be sort of washed out from the market.
This is fascinating because it's not just about using AI on a very tangential kind of information seeking, but to actually handle stuff that is happening in the office. And the examples that you gave are all real life things that you solve on the spot. So, did this come as a result of something happening in a workshop and then people tell you, or you realize that this could be done? Or
So,
how
so
exactly does it work?
so definitely, again, both. Like I told you, for me, my teachers are people in front of me. That's whom I learn
Right,
from. So I'm very honest about the fact that I don't know it all, because I don't think any human can know it all. I never
right,
even call myself an AI expert, because AI itself at a commercial usage is only 2.5 years old. How can anyone be an expert other than the guys
right.
who are building it? As a user, if someone says I'm an AI expert, I feel like that itself is full of but
Yeah.
so I think it comes from a place of that, and I just tell them, listen, I'm just a power user, in the sense that I use it for 5-6 hours. So maybe I know one or two things more than you, but I'm happy to share those. And if that helps you, like, that's the end of the day, that's the goal, right? Someone who's not logged in, or logged in. And I have to also tell you, Venu, so the number of people who use incorrect apps, they have wrong versions of ChatGPT installed. When we are saying
Meaning,
nano, nana, and yeah, because if you just go to the app store even now and you just
right?
type Chat GPT, you will get
You'll get
multiple,
all kinds of,
you'll get all
whoa,
sorts. So, just for instance, you'll get like, yeah, you'll get something like Chat Smith. You'll get
oh
a
God.
chatbot AI assistant. And you see how the logo is so similar to that of Anthropic?
Yeah, yeah.
Here, these are the other common ones: Chat AI, Chat and Ask. And
Wow.
then they're like, but the features. So they're all built on the same OpenAI because OpenAI is open source, right?
Right,
So they're
right.
built on these platforms, but they're not the original tool. Where so when the news is saying you can do this, they're like, I'm not able to do this. I'm not able to get more accurate results. So first level is, have you installed the right application? So it even
Wow.
begins from that sort of a space, and you'll be surprised that that number is also very huge. Where or people don't have the same login credentials. So while we have moved to 5G and AI, the reality on ground is very different. uh, for instance, someone who's an iPhone user would have used ChatGPT and logged in with their Apple ID on their phone.
Okay.
And a lot of times,
Right.
Apple ID, some you don't remember, you can just use Face ID and kind of log in.
Yeah, yeah.
Suddenly, they're on their laptop and they're like, "Oh, what email ID should I use? This is my son's email ID. Let me connect to this Gmail." And then they're surprised that the conversations are not syncing. So you see, even with AI, if you don't understand basic tech, how will you solve for that?
Right,
You're not able to understand
right.
where they downloaded, where they, so it is so integrated. So even though I'm teaching AI, there's a lot of fundamentals that I'm teaching. Fundamentals that people
So
think
how
we.
do you backtrack and understand that this is a, because what you're mentioning is one of the foundational problems that people don't even understand that first of all get the right app, and then your login should be right. It didn't make so much of a difference if you were on email because you got to see whatever you were, sort of Yahoo and Gmail, and the things are different. But what you're talking of is a fundamental issue with how people will approach AI to begin with. So, do you start with something like this and then move further, or is it
Yeah. And they tell me, everyone tells me, don't do fundamentals. Especially, when I work with founders of businesses, they're like, no, no, we know it. We know this stuff. I said, trust me, you don't. And if you don't learn three things in this 1 hour that I will teach you, maybe you know one or two things. It's not obviously,
right?
no, is not that, oh, I know nothing. But I always say it's going to be worth your time. If it's not, I will. So it came from establishing, because I said, see, if you're not going to get the fundamentals, how will you solve? I want to teach you how to fish. I don't want to feed you a fish today for lunch.
Absolutely.
And there is a difference between the two. It's very easy for me to just say, press right, press here, look top, look left. For me, that work can get done in half the time. But I know that you're going to, when the minute you leave my workshop, you are going to get stuck because your fundamentals are not clear. So it comes from awareness. So I try to make them aware. See, again, another thing which is so common, Venu, so I know I'm constantly switching because I'm getting so many examples, is an AI account getting shared between two family members.
Okay.
For
Right.
example, they're like, oh, let me use the paid version of ChatGPT, but I'm the smart Indian. We'll split it between my wife and I. And I say that's fundamentally, again, not using AI correctly, because AI
Right.
will only work if it understands you. It's like having an executive assistant in your life or a personal assistant that is shared between two people, and one likes their format differently, one likes tea with milk, one likes tea as an Earl Grey tea. Eventually AI model is going to get so confused because it doesn't know whether to give you answers in a paragraph, to give you brief, to give it in a tabular format, to substantiate, to not, to cut it short, to not use Shashi Tharoor level happy birthday messages, to just talk conversational English. But you have to allow for that guy to get to know you. A doctor can't treat two patients at the exact same time. She has to be
Right.
like, you all have a problem? No problem. First, give me your symptoms. Let me get through to you. These are your medications. Now you tell me. Even if it's the same
Right.
virus, literally hit all the family members, the doctor
Right.
is going to go by it one by one. Similarly with AI. So I say, sure, you can save money, but this is the reason why you're not getting great answers, is because you're making AI a bhel puri, and it's not a good idea. So these are
Right.
the practical things that happen.
Very
So
practical.
yeah, so again,
Yesterday when we
it's
spoke,
from the room.
yeah, yesterday when we spoke, you mentioned this thing of AI being taught by somebody who was a proven whiz who understood AI very well, but could not establish the connect with the audience of learners. So,
Yeah.
where you sat at the table and everyone kind of got what he was referring to because you acted as the interpreter. So, do you think one of your biggest strengths as teacher is the fact that you're able to make AI relatable to them, whereas most technical guys, when they teach AI, will talk about the technology and not about the way it integrates into their life.
Yeah, I think so. I think my skill set is, which I have understood now, of course, I didn't know it at the time, is to be able to demystify complicated topics. And because I guess I'm just one step ahead and not 20 steps ahead, see, it's similar, right, Benu? So if you see me use AI and suddenly I tell you, listen, Elon Musk is also a teacher that you can choose, who would you pick? You'd still pick me because you'd be like, I would love to have a conversation with that guy or dinner or lunch, but no, I don't want to learn AI from that guy because I don't think anything that
Right.
he's going to say is going to get into my head. It's going to go over because he's
Yeah.
far ahead in that trajectory. Similarly,
True.
you'll want to learn yoga from someone who cannot just bend like Noddy, but she's two steps behind because you are like, hey, she went from stiff to touching her toes. If she can do it, so can I.
Yeah.
Just that friend. That's it. I'm a friend who's spent 4 more hours and hence I'm more relatable. So the pain point that I understand is I'm that friend who can listen to you, who can understand where you are and be like, why don't you try this instead of that? That's going to make a lot of difference. And I work a lot with examples, their examples. So I'm like, tell me what you do. So on that same table that I'm talking about, there was a lady from Kenya who is a wine, she makes wines and she'd never played with AI as an image model. So I said, can you tell me where I can find an image of your wine? So she directed me to her website and we went to her website and I just pulled out an image and I said, tell me what is the wildest thing you want to do with a photograph of your wine bottle on Instagram? She said, I would love it if Shah Rukh Khan can hold it. So I said, see, I'll make that happen, but I need you to know that that's unethical to do it because that's misrepresentation of facts. So I laid that sort of disclaimer out. But we just took a picture of Shah Rukh and we said, can you make this guy hold this bottle of wine? And as if he just had the most amazing bottle of wine, and so that it's up on Instagram. Gemini's Nano Banana got it so right that it wasn't just the picture that it created an entire screenshot of an Instagram account with the I am SRK handle with a
Wow.
blue tick mark. Then the picture of Shah Rukh holding the bottle, the labeling, everything is to the dot. And then came the caption, then came comments. And she sent that picture to the family, and they were like, what is this really happening? Oh my God, how did you meet him in Dubai? Like, what just happened? So again, the she suddenly understood that, oh, this is the kind of image modeling. Her immediate next question to me was, so can ChatGPT also do the same thing? I said, no, that's a great question. Why don't you try it? Because you'll understand that ChatGPT is an image generation model and Nano Banana is a native image editing model. So
Right. So
if you
that's
put
the
it on
difference.
ChatGPT, it'll keep playing with the text. It'll modify all of that because that's just how the model is built. But that's the interesting part. When you make it relatable to people, they suddenly their sensibilities are sharpened to the extent that they understand the topic so much more easier than if I were to give a completely unrelated
Random example.
example.
Right.
It would take them more ways to come around it and more time.
True. Okay. So let me just. I'm speaking to Shreya Bajaj Shah, and it was fascinating as to how she conducts her courses, what are the things that she does. And what I found refreshing is that she's not approaching AI from something that is distant, technology that you need to master, but how you can actually begin to apply it in day to day life. Before we started this conversation, I was wondering how Shreya went about it. And she's just giving so many examples of how she manages to innovate in her classes and then provide people with the exact kind of answers that they are looking for, which will be highly useful to them. Whether it's dealers who are looking to send reports back to the factory, or trying to sort of read through a RERA notice or any other legal notice and then have it summed up by ChatGPT. This is amazing practical use cases that people don't normally connect to. Most of the thing is, the hype in media is around generation. Like Shreya herself said, it's all generative AI which gets all these, but Nano Banana, and people don't even understand the basics. Like she said, you can have three people use ChatGPT, all of whom have different queries, and the system goes completely haywire trying to explain what exactly is happening. In the final segment, I'll be speaking to Shreya about how she sees this being applied, and what are the kind of lessons that she takes away from whatever she's been teaching so far. I'm also going to ask her how somebody who's not a tech person to begin with can be so effective. Because I'm seeing that happen, Ray, and everything that you said, I can imagine that anyone who's done your course will walk away feeling I've really learned something I can apply. It's not so much that, oh, it is some distant dream. So I think you have that ability, and I'm not sure too many people understand that instinctively. To you, it does. You said you can speak to a 2 year old and an 8 year old. That's a very large, sort of ambit of being able to get along with people. So, what is it that keeps you interested? Apart from what you just told me, that your Instagram, you did the avatar, what are the other things about AI that you find fascinating and what you're exploring currently?
For me, it's the work is worship for me. It's very simple. I
Right.
think I come from a Marwari family, so I'm born in business. I mean, before we had food on the table, we had business conversations on the table. That's just how it is because our fathers, grandfathers, they came in from Rajasthan, so money was survival. It was also how do I raise a family. So conversations around businesses, entrepreneurship, risk taking ability, this came very naturally to us as we grew. So work was always taught to me as work is worship. So if you are charging X amount, and that's totally okay to charge money from people, and I'm sharing this because the initial backlash I got from a lot of people when I was teaching, especially in COVID, was how can you charge senior citizens? You should be
Right.
doing this for free, is what I was told. And I did go with that mindset because not because of what people told me, but initially it was about piloting. So I said, let's pilot with a 0 rupee cost. But over time, I realized that 0 rupee has no value. People will register but may not even show up. If they show up, their videos will be off. And so I started thinking, do I need 20 people to come for 0 rupees? Or am I happy with 5 people who come at 100 rupees or 500 rupees or whatever value I set? And I became clearer that, listen, if I cannot measure impact, what is the point of doing what I'm doing just to show numbers?
Right.
So that became a very big sort of cornerstone to running this business is it has to be impact driven, which means if I'm charging X amount, I should deliver X plus Y, if not XY, you know,
Right.
exponential. They have to feel like this was money well spent. So that's my like underlying motto in designing services or experiences so that people get maximum benefit. So if we reverse engineer this, what does this mean? This means that I have to be on top of my game. I have to know at least three interesting things that's going to wow my audience, which means I have to study. So I minimum prepare 8 to 10 hours before going in for any workshop. So no two workshops are plug and play for me because I never take it for granted. And also, when I tell someone, your one training going wrong is only going to cost you that day's money. But if I mess it up, that's going to cost me 10 customers that you would have referred to me, but now you're not going to because you didn't find
Okay.
value in it. So the loss is bigger for me, not for you. So please be rest assured that I will give you my 500%. That's how I'm coming to the table. And I think that if all of us start approaching work like this, where we're challenging ourselves every day, like, how do I get better? How do I get better at this game? I think the quality in which we all offer service becomes very high. And then everything else is a byproduct. How do you stay engaged? How do you find the passion? How do you find new topics? All of this is a byproduct, I think. This
Right.
is how I approach it.
So you mentioned briefly that AI, or the way AI is deployed and used, is going to create those very clear differentiations between people who can add value and people who can't. For example, in today's world, there's a whole lot of people who manage to get by, in the various small spaces within offices in their inefficiencies, which
Yeah.
will be exposed, the moment people have to do, deliver value. So, do you think, in a way, this is going to force people into a different kind of culture mentally? Because the earlier thing was, if I have to survive, I can get by doing just this little much.
Yeah.
Or do you think it's going to lead to the opposite? That is, people are going to be discomfited and say, I can't. I know it's going to be very hard to hazard a guess on what really is happening. But what have you seen in the companies that you've worked with? Are they cutting down on the number of people they have, or deploying, using people better, using their own employees better once they learn?
So the people that I work with, they are legacy family businesses so far. That's also so the basic underlying culture is not to train to fire. It's, hey, listen, these guys have been with me for a very long time. I want to continue. They were part of my growth. So the value systems are
Right.
very, very strong, which means they want to give the human 100% chance at succeeding. If that's the mindset, they're definitely looking at AI as a tool. Also, what I'm noticing is it's not a game changing tool in the sense that someone will go from 0 to 100% overnight or in a month or two
Right.
months. Not. And I don't think the founders, and I meet people, interestingly, where their turnovers are 1,000 crore plus, 2,000 crore plus, 5,000 crore plus. You'll just think that they are ones, okay, chalo yaar, I have my game set. But it's the opposite. It's these guys who are always wanting to learn. I have people whose trainings I've sat through where the chairperson will be 70 plus, 75 plus. It's really common, and they are the drivers, and they do not understand technology. They will, some of them do not even open the laptop in the training, but they are there 8 hours, 100% attendance, without a phone, focused on learning. Because they say, if I don't understand, how can I encourage my team to do it? And that is true
Right.
leadership. And then they come and
Right.
tell me, Shreya, even if my team can use 20% by the end of the next 1 month, and 20% of such people, even out of the whole total 100% of the workforce, even if 20% can use it to get better, it will have a ripple effect. It will force people who are sort of laid back also to be like, listen, that guy just worked a little faster, and it'll have a
Right.
positive. So I think that Indian business leaders are very grounded in the reality. I don't think they have unrealistic expectations with AI. And I think we're looking at it as a tool of marginal improvement at the moment. And I feel like that's a very realistic, fair assumption, because people are different, industries are different, tech resistance is very high. And it could also be like two people are using it, but four people are not using it. So then, as a system, it's a problem. So I think founders are very aware of this problem. But so that's why they're all coming back to me now, and they're saying this 1 day training is great, but what next? And to me, that itself was quite a surprise, because I actually don't have a what next. Then I understood
Okay.
what people want is this 8 hours was pure magic. I could kind of get a sense of how AI works, and the way you prompted AI, to me, that is, you're just talking to it. You're not even like going, ounces and ounces of pages trying to chat with this. So
Right.
in that sense, if my team can just learn how to do this, it means their articulation is getting stronger. Their ability to deconstruct a problem is getting stronger. They're actually going to apply their mind instead of mindlessly doing something. And these are big wins in a business.
Right. And do you subscribe to the belief that people today are less attentive, that they don't have, that they tend to be, find it harder to concentrate? And
Oh, yeah, for sure.
have you found a way out?
The way out is don't bore people. Like I see people, and I attend a lot of workshops myself, both online and offline. Like I said, right, I learn from the room, I learn from the market. No bigger teacher than that. So I'm part of clubs in Chennai, so I attend every time I find like a good speaker. I'm all the time attending. But now what's happened is I've shifted my focus from not just the learnings but also how they're delivering. Hey, why did people laugh in the room? Oh my God, that was such an interesting way to share it. He's such a good storyteller. I've begun to value these skill sets a lot. So one is I'm learning from all of that, and I realize at the end of the day, if you are not an engaging communicator or a storyteller, it does not matter if you have like a life changing cancer
Agreed.
saving drug in your hand. No one's going to be interested. So the ability to articulate, I think, is a top human skill. That is very important to make anything really engaging. And second, what I also find, especially with Instagram and these whole bunch of free webinars that have come in, where people are like, I'll come to me at zero cost and I'll teach you something for 4 hours. And in that 4 hours, they're only adding value in 10 minutes. And 1 hour, they just go on and on about their own accomplishments and achievements. And then they talk about the problem statement for another 1 hour, and then they add this much value, and then they sell their upsell. And this is why people get really frustrated, right? Because it has probably worked for some as a business model. I just think it's so unethical to be doing that. When you are telling someone that you're going to call them for 4 hours and giving them value, you're really cheating the customer, even if it's at 0 rupees, because the cost is never zero. It's 4 hours of their time.
Yeah.
So I think as a person, I've become very respectful of people's time. I really cut my introduction to less than 30 seconds. And I'm like, let my work speak. Because if my work is good, people will come and be like, and this is what happens always in the break. They're like, hey, that was really fun. You made it very engaging. Tell me more about you. How did you get into AI? So there's some bits left for an after conversation. But if I were to blabber my entire life history, what is the
What's
sort of,
what?
yeah, it has to be a
Yeah.
movie. I think life is a
Right.
movie, and you have to have the interval at the right time. You want people to come back and sit after the popcorn. And if you create every assignment like this, you gamify it. And then people want to stick.
And I
But
think
if
you've
you're
answered this from a
boring or if
completely,
you're
yeah,
not even looking at the audience, you're going on reading from a paper, there's a PPT
yeah,
running in the background, you're literally saying the same thing that's on the PPT. How would anyone want to,
yeah.
sort of stay focused? There's no incentive.
Your ability to observe, I think, is another huge, because you spoke about this a couple of times. You said read the room. This is a skill that I see very few people having. That is, if you're making a presentation, and if I find that the client is interested, then I will extend that to 10 or 15 minutes or 20 minutes or whatever. If I find that they want to get down to it, I'll wrap up in 2 or 3 minutes.
Yeah,
So if you don't do that at the point of being able to understand what is the response in the room,
yeah,
I think what you just said, you've got 10 minutes of material and you're trying to stretch it to 4 hours, which is, you might say it's free, but then it doesn't really have value. So for anyone who's, um, I think what we'll also talk about is, did you consciously ever think about this, but did you naturally get along with people who are much older than you are? Is that one of the skills that is required in something like this?
mm, honestly, I never thought that much. I just focus on what I have to do. But I love working with this audience. And I
Okay.
love working with this audience because I think they're so full of heart. They have such genuine intentions and they bless you wholeheartedly. Why wouldn't I want to be in a business like that? I teach them two things. They'll send me a message even after a week and even after 10 days and be like, that opened my mind. That made me so impactful. I was so confident in having this conversation with my people. So I think what I've realized is because they have been devoid of technology for a really long time, like good learning, they value it so much. They'll remember for you a longer time. So I have a chance to create a real impact. And I came to this conclusion. So initially, I started with seniors. Then the seniors said, "Hey, you're a very good teacher. Why don't you teach my children?" So I taught, like I said, I did everything. And
Yeah.
then I realized I didn't like teaching children because they're too smart. And the examples that I like to give, and I like to crack a lame joke and then can't, they don't have time for that. You don't say one thing in 30 seconds that's not valuable, they'll just, their attention shifts. Then I said, that's a different skill set, to deal
Yeah.
with this demographic. And I feel like that space is crowded. So, very intentionally, I said, this space is a lot of wide space. It's the entire red ocean, blue ocean that we kind of talk about. And what is it going to take for me to kind of succeed in this is to be a little bit more patient, to not laugh at a question or dismiss it
Right.
as something that is silly or stupid. So I literally start a session with this. This is the safest place for you to ask any silly question, stupid question that you can't ask anywhere. Here is where you're going to ask. This is the safe space.
Okay.
And I love it. I love working with this audience, and I get to learn about life from them and how at 17, 80 they want to learn. I mean, what can be bigger and better than that? um,
Yeah.
so I would
Ultimately,
say,
I think that's the. Yeah. Sorry.
no, I said, I think I want to sum up by saying that I wanted to solve a problem. Then I realized that there's a very big ocean over here. And I initially thought it was only North Indians because I came from that background. Then I realized, oh, it's an Indian problem. But then I started watching shows and I was traveling abroad and I realized this is a global problem. And, tech literacy has nothing to, English literacy has nothing to do with being tech literate, and tech literate has nothing to do with being AI literate. And I think then it was intentionally chosen to be in that space because I was like, I can make an impact and I love working with this demographic. So if you don't love it, I think then you'll do a bad job because you definitely need to have patience. But patience is actually a very small part of it. You just need to make sure that your content is punchy, it's crispy. You're not wasting people's time because these guys understand the value of time. They've taken advantage of that. So if you work with their sensibility and intellectual capabilities, they will value that, and they're the best audience because they're so sticky to you. They're not the ones like Gen Z who'll just switch over to another guy because she's 100 rupees cheaper or 200 rupees cheaper. In fact, my prices have only increased, Venu sir, but the
Right.
people stuck and brought in more people because they're like, she's good, she'll deliver value. Even if she's not doing a class in the next 2 months, wait, because that experience is going to be very different. So I have so many free brand ambassadors because of this. I'm so thankful to God to have shown me this path. So really that.
I think you summed it up, Shreya. I'll just do a summing up and then come back to you for a little while. Uh, Thank you for doing this again.
It's totally my
Okay.
pleasure. And like I said, I'm so inspired by what you're building. So it's a big honor. Thank you.
Thank you, Shreya. So I was speaking to Shreya Bajaj Shah, and I think it was fascinating as to how she found this entire career and how she's building it step by step. And the reason I find that she has made this whole transition so seamless is that she has understood that there is a gap in the market, that there are very few people playing. She has the ability to engage, she has the ability to explain in a way that people understand and respond and relate to. Next week, another career journey, and we'll be back. Thank you, as always, for listening.